Over the past 6 to 9 months, the national real estate market has been pretty interesting to say the least. And the Raleigh real estate market has been no exception. We're seeing changes in the number of buyers reaching out and how many listings are selling, which can be pretty confusing if you're only following the national news. So on this gorgeous North Carolina fall day, I decided to take my laptop outside and share with you a couple of recent news articles about the national market and to see how it applies to the local Raleigh real estate market. I hope in doing so that you'll get a better understanding of what's going on in the current market in case you're considering buying or selling a Raleigh area home as we put 2024 in the rearview mirror and as we approach the 2025 real estate market. According to this recent article in Yahoo Finance, several really interesting topics were mentioned. One of which is the fact that in many areas nationally, we're still seeing a lot of markets where home sales are remaining slow and where buyers are pretty much remaining on the sidelines as rates are pretty much, as of the time of this recording, still hovering in that mid to high 6% range, despite even having recent rate drop where rates were hovering in the low sixes for a little while. What we're seeing here in the Raleigh real estate market somewhat corresponds to these national trends, albeit with a few differences. Right now in the Triangle area, which covers most of the Piedmont region of the state, resale home sale closings are up over 21% from September 24 back to September 2023. And I'm seeing an uptick in closed sales from late summer through September. Even looking at new construction data, we're seeing similar trends with a 27% increase. It'll be pretty interesting to see if this trend continues throughout the remainder of 24, since the election will hopefully be over by then. Plus, we'll have the benefit of having 2 additional Fed meetings under our belt. Like I've always said, the Triangle market has always shown some pretty good resiliency, even in the face of negative national events, due in large part to the area's strong high-tech employment base, state's strong fiscal budget policies, not to mention this fantastic year-round weather we have here. So another item that was mentioned in Yahoo's article mentions what's known as the rate lock-in effect, where existing homeowners are pretty reluctant to sell because they're locked into a really low interest rate and they don't want to sell and then be faced with a higher rate on their next home. We're definitely seeing this trend happen locally as well. As rates went lower, some of these homeowners sold, but a whole lot more instead refinanced to a lower rate instead of entering the market by putting their homes up for sale. Yahoo's article continues by stating that the current mortgage rate is 2.5 percentage points higher than the rates that most homeowners are paying on their existing loans. In fact, more than 80% of borrowers have mortgage rates that are lower than the current rates. Furthermore, we're still pretty far away from rates unlocking significant inventory, and they believe that the decline in mortgage rates has largely run its course. In fact, mortgage rates have recently been rising as traders reassess their expectations on how aggressively the Fed is going to be cutting interest rates. Data from Freddie Mac show that the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate rose by 10 basis points to 6.54 last week from 6.44 a week earlier. This marks the highest level since August 2024. Depending on how next week's election goes and what administration takes over in January, we can see a change with the rates policies at some point down the road. However, I really don't see this happening for a while since the current Fed Chairman, Jerome Powell's term, doesn't end until 2026. With that being said, I personally feel like there's going to be some additional cuts to the federal funds rate going forward since the Fed's stated goal was to keep unemployment under 5%. Since unemployment has pretty much continued on an upward trend since January 2023, going from a low of around 3.4 up to the most recent number of 4.1, I really think that there's going to be continued pressure to keep rates in check, especially if these unemployment numbers continue to increase. So how does this affect the local real estate market here in the Triangle? In my opinion, really not a lot. Why do I feel this way, you might ask? Well, no matter what the rates are, here locally, we're still mired in a continued period of low home inventory, which is now past the 10-year mark of a chronic undersupply of homes. As a matter of fact, it was way back in October 2014, the last time we had a balanced local real estate market here in the Triangle, where there was at least a 6-month supply of homes available. Okay, so here's the good news. Here locally, new construction has sort of been saving the day for home buyers because we've had some decent new home construction activity since around the beginning of January 2022. We've seen a slow but steady increase in the number of available new construction home inventory. This is part of the reason why I'm saying that there's a perfect storm that's hitting right now as we're approaching the end of 2024. Here's where I'm going with this. Stick with me for a second. So, like I mentioned earlier, the overall market here in the Triangle has been somewhat stagnated pretty much most of the entire year of 2024 due to the pesky higher mortgage rates along with ever-increasing high home prices, which have risen nearly 28% since June of 2020. Because we've been seeing this decent amount of new construction activity that's been trending slightly higher since around March of 2024, we're getting to a point where some builders are shaking up the market here with some very nice incentives, some of which are quite surprising given the relative amount of low home inventory that's available right now. Hey, real quick guys, I would really appreciate it if you take half a second and hit the like button below. It would really help me and my channel out immensely, and I would really appreciate it. Thanks guys. Curious what types of deals are going on right now? Well, just last week, I was able to get one of my clients moving here from Ohio a crazy, insane deal on a brand new luxury townhome near the highly desirable area of Briar Creek. The builder was offering my client $6,500 in closing costs, along with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 4.99. On top of this, I was able to further negotiate for my clients an additional incentive package, which included a whole house window treatment, a GE side-by-side refrigerator, a Whirlpool washer and dryer package, plus a reduced builder deposit spread out over a 1-month period. And it was reduced from a total of $24,000 down all the way to only $7,000 down, also which they split into 2 payments. Being able to negotiate a deal like this, especially on new construction, is definitely not the routine. But part of the reason why I believe some of these builders are making deals like this right now is mainly due to a couple of different reasons. One, builders are seeing slightly more home inventory accumulating here at the end of 2024. Therefore, some of them are willing to negotiate right now to keep their home inventories balanced. And secondly, most builders, especially national builders who publicly trade on one of the major stock exchanges, want to beef up their balance sheets here at the year end for upcoming earnings reports to shareholders. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Taking a quick look at the most recent data involving triangle housing permits, which is sort of like looking into a window at the future at new home inventory. The largest number of home permits ever recorded, going all the way back to 1988, occurred only a couple months ago in August of 2024, when nearly 3,000 new housing permits were issued here in the Triangle area. Here's what's really interesting. Take a look at the very next month of permitting data, where only 1,447 permits were issued, a massive drop of over 50% in only 1 month. What does this tell us? The biggest thing is that once these nearly 3,000 permitted homes are built and sold, we're pretty much back to what's traditionally been the lower end of homes permitted, around 1,400, going all the way back to January of 2020. So if we're only building enough homes to stay around 3 months of home supply, then inventory levels aren't going to increase without a corresponding decrease in demand. The thing right now is we're still in a relatively slow market with only about half of the home supply we need for a balanced market. Home prices aren't going to go down until something changes with either supply and or demand. Here's another thing to strongly consider. What happens if mortgage rates go down only 1% to a point where mortgage rates are consistently remaining at or below 6%? I read an article the other day that states that for every 1% drop in mortgage rates, 5 million new home buyers enter the market. We all know that when rates go down, the market's going to heat up. So going back to building permits for a second, if the number of new housing permits doesn't increase considerably from where they've been, even taking into consideration the nearly 3,000 that was recently processed, what happens when a horde of humanity of home buyers comes out of the woodwork again? Like throughout most of 22 when rates began falling and people were bidding on homes like Black Friday. Now, no one really expects rates to get down back into the 3s and 4s like back then, but even a 1% decrease in the 6% range is going to attract a lot of buyers who right now are just sitting on the sidelines waiting to pounce. Right now, if you're a potential buyer in the Raleigh or the overall Triangle real estate market, then you're going to want to check out this next graph regarding the amount of new construction within each price bracket. If you're someone that's hoping to get a really good deal right now on a home, then search where the inventory is. If you look at this chart, you'll see the greatest amount of new home inventory right now in the Triangle are homes that are priced between $400,000 up to $450,000, which makes up most of the inventory by far at 19% of all total homes available. If you want the odds to be in your favor and you're someone who needs a deal with the chance of scoring some additional incentives, then this $400,000 to $450,000 price range right now is a great bet. This just happens to be the same price range where I just negotiated this amazing deal for my clients up in Ohio. Even going a little deeper, here is a really revealing chart showing some specific zip codes within the Triangle with corresponding new home inventory numbers. Plus, here you can see this pretty revealing number that shows the average current sales list price versus the original list price from when the listing first went active. So here you can see where on average your typical new construction home in Wendell right now has been for sale for 140 days at an average list price of $362,302. Plus you can see where the typical home in Wendell is now listed at 94% of its original list price. So if you're someone who needs a deal and you're searching for homes under $400,000, then Wendell Glendale would be a great place to start your home search. Other great areas to look for deals right now are Wake Forest, South Raleigh, Heat Wave Arena, and over in Zebulon. If you've already been eyeing a specific neighborhood, or maybe you just happen to be curious about which new home communities within these zip codes would be a great community where you can score some really nice incentives right now, then take a look at this chart. Again, look at communities with higher days on market with the original list price to current list price percentage is under 100%. Obviously, the lower the better. Right now, some of the best deals you can find are in that 94, 95% of current list price versus the original. Here's the bottom line, guys. Once rates drop and stabilize, probably somewhere in that low to mid 6% range for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, home buying demand will increase, but supply won't, at least not quickly. When this happens and builders become more confident that homes are going to sell quickly, you're going to eventually begin to see the number of home permits increase, like what happened back in August of 2024. But it can take a month or more just to get a building permit. And then once you get the permit, it can sometimes take anywhere between 6, 8, even 12 months to finish a home. So I kind of relate it to turning a massive battleship. You can't turn it on a dime. It's going to take some time to finish. So if you're someone who'd either like to move soon or maybe you need to move soon and you need a great deal on a new home with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, potentially in that 4% range or maybe even lower, with some killer incentives, give me a call. Also, if you already live here and you need to sell and you'd like your home marketed here on YouTube, the same way you see me market these new home communities, make a smart move. Get Mike and get moved.